Hello and welcome. This video is going to walk you through how to replace the membranes and electrolyte in a couple different types of Metrinet sensor nodes. Let's get started. Okay, so to get started, we'll go through a few things. To start with, we've got our sensor nodes and our flow cells. We've got our 10-pack of membranes. Next we have our filter caps, our electrolyte, our bottle for rinsing, a piece of 320 grit sandpaper, and a bin to rinse everything out in. So we'll start with a total chlorine sensor. So we've got it in our flow cell. We're going to twist it and remove it. And now that we've got our sensor taken apart, the first thing we need to do is remove the electrolyte chamber from the sensor node. So now we got the old electrolyte. We're going to dump it out. And then to make sure it's clean, we're going to rinse it out with a little distilled water. I've got it in this little rinse bottle. So before we change the cap out, what we can also do is we can take the node, the little platinum tip on the end. We can just kind of make sure it's clean, take a little 320 grit sandpaper, and we can just kind of scuff it up and make sure it's clean, take off anything that's maybe on the end of that node. And then we'll just wipe the tip of that node off, just make sure anything that we sandpapered comes off. And then now, since we're doing chlorine, the membranes actually come in the cap, so you just want to make sure you've got the right membrane cap for the total chlorine sensor. We'll take out our new cap and membrane. And next we're just going to remove the old one. To do that, we just unscrew it off the end of the electrolyte chamber. So we can discard the old membrane and cap, and then we'll take our new one and we'll just screw it right back there on the end. Now we'll want to get our electrolyte, so we'll make sure we read the bottle that we've got the right electrolyte for the job we're doing. So this is total chlorine. So we've got the right electrolyte for the node we're working on. And then before we fill it in, you'll notice that the electrolyte chamber's got a rubber band and it's covering a little weep hole on one side. So you can peel that rubber band down to expose the weep hole. And then we just want to add the electrolyte. So you're going to kind of do this slowly. I kind of do it from the side. You want to try to avoid adding any air bubbles. Air bubbles in the electrolyte solution could cause the sensor to perform incorrectly. And then my rubber band slipped up, so I'm just going to readjust it back down so the weep hole is open. And then we're just going to take and screw the sensor node back into the electrolyte chamber, and the excess electrolyte's going to come through the top and it'll come out of that weep hole. And now we can wipe that off with a paper towel. Reposition the rubber band. And now we're ready to put it back into the flow cell. So we'll just insert it and do a quarter turn. And that's how you change the membrane and electrolyte in a total chlorine sensor. Up next, we have a nitrate sensor, so we'll pull it out of the flow cell. And we'll untwist its electrolyte chamber off the end of it. You'll notice that the different sensor nodes may have different types of tips in them, made of different materials. So we'll empty out the electrolyte. We're going to rinse it out good with our distilled water. And now we'll unscrew the membrane cap. Now with the nitrite sensors and some of the other sensors, the membranes don't come in a nice cap. And here I use the water bottle tip to pull the membrane out. So we'll remove it. And then now we're going to get our new membrane. They come in these 10 packs. We want to make sure we've got the right membrane for the right sensor node. You'll notice in these tins, the membranes are separated by little pieces of paper. So we're going to pull one out, and then we're going to remove the pieces of paper that are in there as spacers. Also, when handling the membranes, you want to try to hold them from the edges as most as possible to keep oil and grease from getting on the membrane. So now we'll take our new membrane, we'll insert it into our cap, and then we'll screw our cap back onto the electrolyte chamber. And now we'll pull the little rubber band down off the weep hole. We're going to get our electrolyte, and we're going to make sure we're getting the one for nitrite this time instead of total chlorine. And then we'll unscrew our cap from the bottle. And now we'll add in our electrolyte. Now that it's full, we'll take it and we'll screw our sensor back into the electrolyte chamber. Snug it down. Wipe off any excess electrolyte. Now that's all that's left is to return the sensor, put it back in the flow cell, and now we've changed both total chlorine and nitrite. In this short clip, I'm going to show you how to disconnect and reconnect two flow cells. So to disconnect, you'll just want to twist the lock ring in the center in the direction of the unlock arrow. This will allow you to separate the flow cells from each other. Here's a good look at the ring. Now, to put it back together again, we're going to make sure that our flow is facing in the right direction, and we'll attach the lock ring to one flow cell, and then we'll insert the second one, and then we'll twist the ring in the opposite direction of the unlock. Now this can be tricky. You've got to get that lock ring in just the right spot, so it takes some practice. Once you get it lined up correctly and in the right spot, should just be a little twist and locked in. And that's how you connect and disconnect flow cells.